Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Today, we're diving deep into a powerful story. Can Uri truly help his neighbor Mr. Tuan, a man who once did many terrible things to his family, as he slowly sinks into a terrifying darkness of massive debt and despair? 3 days, one desperate threat, a heartbreaking choice between past pain and present mercy. If you love emotional cinematic stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. In the dim glow of a fading golden twilight that cast long haunting shadows across the weathered walls of an old creaking house, Mr. Tuan stood there trembling, his once proud posture now broken as he faced the cold-eyed debt collector who had just stepped out from the deepening darkness like a ghost from his past mistakes. The air felt thick, almost suffocating, as the stern voice cut through the silence like a knife. "I will go see your son to collect the debt if you don't pay." You could see the fear flash across Mr. Tuan's face, this neighbor who had caused so much pain to Tutiu in the past, and he dropped to his knees, right there on the dusty floor, hands clasped together in desperate pleading. His voice shook badly as he begged, "Just 1 week, please. I will gather enough money to pay it all back." But the collector didn't flinch, his words landing like hammer blows. 3 days, exactly 3 days, or I will find your son." Darkness seemed to swallow Mr. Tuan whole in that moment. His face turned deathly pale, cold sweat pouring down his forehead while he thought about his son working far away overseas, all alone, and how his own past arrogance and schemes were now dragging him into this bottomless abyss. The pressure was crushing him from every side, turning a man who used to walk with confidence into nothing more than a trembling shadow standing before this massive, unforgiving debt. You could hear his heavy breathing mixing with the gentle autumn wind outside, like nature itself was whispering that a real storm was coming to engulf his entire life. And as the scene fades to black on that final chilling threat, you're left wondering how someone sinks so deep so fast. Right after that heavy moment, the story shifts to Tu Tiu rushing back home, her face full of panic under a light drizzle of rain that clings to her clothes. Her footsteps hurried on the wet path as she bursts through the door into the warm, cozy kitchen where Yuri and Dee are waiting. Her voice trembles as she recounts the whole tense debt scene she accidentally witnessed, every detail spilling out about how aggressive those collectors were with Mr. Tuan. Dee sits there frowning deeply, her worry lines deepening as she recalls Lin's past misappropriation of Mr. Tuan's company assets and how it might still be rippling into this mess today. Uri, meanwhile, stays completely silent at first, his heart visibly torn between basic human kindness and those dark memories of how Mr. Tuan had schemed against his wife Tutiu before. When Tutiu adds with unease in her eyes, Uncle Tuan looks so stressed, like he's carrying the weight of the world. You see Uri sigh deeply, his inner conflict etched so clearly across his face as he clenches his fists tight under the table, a quick hazy flashback hitting him of those old betrayals that still sting. Dee leans in and advises her son carefully, reminding him to think this through, because their own company is already facing tight capital constraints. The heavy silence that falls over the family feels like it could snap at any second, with the garden wind outside rustling the leaves as if it's stirring everyone's conscience at once. Uri feels this huge weight of responsibility pressing down on him, while Tuti admits she still fears for their neighbor despite everything he put her through in the past. Emotions surge high in that kitchen, the dread of watching someone like Mr. Tuan being pulled deeper into darkness, making the whole family atmosphere unbearably heavy, like a storm cloud hanging right over their heads, and you, as the viewer, can't help but feel the tension building, wondering what Uri will choose next in this moral crossroads. As the weight of that conversation lingers, Uri picks up his phone without hesitation and calls his friend right away, his voice dropping low and determined, laying out the urgent request to investigate Mr. Tuan's debt situation immediately so they can get real answers. The scene beautifully contrasts then, cutting to Tutu all by herself, climbing that steep mountain path. Strong winds whipping around her and making the leaves rustle wildly as golden sunlight filters through the trees onto lush green vegetable patches. She works diligently, harvesting basket after basket, sweat soaking through her clothes. Yet you sense her heart feels a little lighter, being out in nature, away from the family worries. She pauses by a crystal-clear stream, the water so pure it mirrors her worried face perfectly in a slow, reflective shot. And as she washes the fresh vegetables, the gentle flowing sound mixes with her own breathing, easing her troubled mind just a bit. Carrying the full basket down to the bustling market, she sets up her stall, selling at 25,000 VND per kilo, with a polite smile on her face that hides the inner turmoil churning inside. There's this small but powerful climax as she stands there, gazing back toward the stream in her mind, quietly questioning herself. Should we really help him after everything? Nature's vibrant beauty stands in such stark contrast to the darkness slowly engulfing their neighbor, pulling you deeper into the story's emotional layers. Then, the narrative pivots back to Mr. Tuan in absolute heart-wrenching pain as he finalizes the sale of his house, clutching the meager sum of money in his hands while standing alone in the now empty rooms that echo with memories. It's nowhere near enough to clear the massive debt, and the despair on his face is raw and real. Meanwhile, Uri meets the creditor in a dimly lit office that feels cold and intimidating, his voice firm yet respectful as he inquires about the exact compensation amount tied to that large project contract breach. The creditor stays ice cold, confirming without emotion that Mr. Tuan must take full responsibility for what he did. Uri is visibly stunned by the enormous figure revealed in the documents, his heart ripping between genuine pity and those lingering old memories of harm. Back at the empty house, Mr. Tuan stands there completely alone as despair surges through him, realizing even selling everything he owns can't save him now. The emotional climax hits hard as Uri fully realizes the true depth of Mr. Tuan's hardship, his eyes darkening with the immense pressure of the decision weighing on him, the camera slowly circling his conflicted face to capture every nuance. Just as the tension peaks, Yuri receives the news that Mr. Tuan has already sold the house, and the screen gradually fades to black with the sound of a heartbeat pounding faster and faster, leaving you on the edge of your seat, wondering if Yuri will step in or walk away. This first episode takes you on a journey from raw fear and sinking darkness through deep inner doubt and family tension to a fragile thread of hope, all while the beautiful natural scenes remind us that light and shadow are always fighting for space in life. In the quiet moments that follow, the weight of Yuri's discovery presses down even harder as he processes the reality of Mr. Tuan's desperate house sale, the empty rooms symbolizing how quickly a life can crumble under unseen debts, and you feel the internal storm building inside him while he stands there, absorbing the news that changes everything. The creditor's cold confirmation still echoes in his mind, that massive compensation figure from the breached project contract hanging like a dark cloud, forcing Yuri to confront not just the numbers, but the human cost behind them. Mr. Tuan, alone in what used to be his home, lets despair wash over him completely, realizing that even liquidating his biggest asset leaves him far short, his hands shaking as he counts the meager bills under the dim light filtering through bare windows. You sense the profound isolation in his posture. A man who once wielded influence, now reduced to this hollow figure, haunted by choices that keep pulling him deeper into the abyss. Uri's face, captured in that slow circling shot, shows every layer of conflict, pity mixing with painful flashbacks of past harms, his fists clench so tight the knuckles turn white, the pressure of deciding whether to step in or protect his own family becoming almost unbearable. The heartbeat sound effect grows louder, pounding like a warning as the screen fades to black on that cliffhanger, leaving viewers breathless, wondering if kindness can truly reach someone sinking this fast, or if the shadows will claim another life. Yet the story doesn't let you rest there. It pulls you right back into the emotional undercurrents as Tutu's market day wraps up, her polite smiles at customers masking the heavy questions swirling in her heart after that quiet moment by the stream where she truly wondered if helping Mr. Tuan was worth the risk. Nature had offered her a brief escape with its lush greens and flowing water, but reality crashes back the moment she returns home. The contrast between those peaceful mountain shots and the tense family kitchen, highlighting how darkness can invade even the brightest days. Dee moves about with quiet worry etched on her face, still thinking about Lynn's old actions and how they might have snowballed into Mr. Tuan's current nightmare, her advice to Yuri hanging in the air like unfinished business. Uri, back from his meeting, carries this new burden silently at first, the determined tone from his phone call to his friend now replaced by deeper reflection as he weighs every possibility. The garden wind outside continues to rustle, almost like it's urging their characters forward, stirring consciences and forcing conversations that no one really wants, but everyone needs. You watch Tutu trying to hold it together for the family, her anxious recounting earlier now layered with fresh concern after seeing how stressed Mr. Tuan truly appeared, and the way she fears for him, despite everything, creates this beautiful, painful tension that keeps you glued to the screen. Emotions keep surging, fear giving way to genuine day doubt, and then the tiniest spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, there's still time to pull someone back from the edge before those 3 days run out. As the episode builds toward its close, the visual storytelling shines through those deliberate contrasts. The cold, suffocating office, where Yuri confronted the debt details, versus the warm, golden light on the mountain, where Tutu harvested vegetables, sweat and all, reminding us that life keeps moving, even when one person's world is falling apart. Mr. Tuan's trembling figure at the beginning feels miles away from the peaceful stream shots, yet they're connected by the same thread of human struggle, making the whole narrative feel intimate and cinematic. Uri's inner conflict reaches its peak as he realizes the true scale of the hardship, his eyes darkening not with anger, but with the heavy realization that helping could impact his own company's tight capital situation. Yet ignoring it might mean watching a neighbor disappear into darkness forever. The family's heavy silence in the kitchen, broken only by rustling leaves and careful words, pulls you in emotionally, making you question alongside them what the right choice really is when past pain collides with present desperation. Dee's worried frown and Tutu's uneasy eyes add layers of realism, showing how one man's debt crisis ripples outward, touching everyone in the neighborhood. And as Yuri receives that final confirmation about the house sale, the pounding heartbeat returns, signaling that the decision point is here, the fragile hope flickering like a candle in the wind. This episode masterfully takes you from outright fear in that twilight house, through family doubt and moral wrestling, all the way to a sliver of possibility, using breathtaking nature visuals to balance the encroaching shadows and keep you completely hooked, unable to look away from the human drama unfolding in such relatable, heartfelt ways.